Ada, thank you so much for joining the Flawless Growth podcast. I am very excited to have you here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for providing the platform.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with you're a therapist. So, what inspired you to become a therapist?
Hmm. That's a really good question. I think a little bit of both things happen, faith and passion, I guess. Um, when I was in high school, I was debating between teaching or becoming a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor. And I wasn't really quite sure which of the two routes I would take. I always knew I wanted to work with children and teenagers and their families. I just wasn't sure in what capacity. And then two things kind of happened at the same time. I took a class in high school that was a psychology class, and I fell in love with it. I loved the class, what we were learning. I loved that I was able to work with people, but in a deeper capacity and understand their brain and their behavior. And at the same time, my parents were going through a really tough separation. And that kind of made me feel or think I want to make a difference for kids that are going through this process, and how can I support families, and how can I support children, and in a bigger scale, how can I improve mental health of people that go through hard things.
Yeah.
And so those kind of cosmic things come together, and I decided I'm just going to go to college and pursue a degree in psychology. So I have my undergraduate degree is in psychology, my master's degree is in mental health counseling, and I'm currently pursuing my doctorate in counseling and education. So it's been my passion from the very beginning.
So you mentioned that you did the psychology class in was it your senior year or before that in your high school years?
No, I think it was either my junior or my
Okay.
senior year. I can't remember, but it was definitely towards the end of high school for sure.
I think that is so it's so awesome that you had so much conscious around there, like around that age of like what you wanted to do based on something that you experienced. Because a lot of the times it's very scary to pick a career. Like you're thoughtful, you don't know what to do. You think you're too young, you're not sure. So you having a hard situation, unfortunately, but that you right away saw it as an opportunity of um, to do something with your life around that, and also to help other people to be have a little bit of a easier time with a hard situation. I think that's very admirable, and I think that is very cool that you found your path so easily.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will say I think that's something because I work with a lot of young adults that are
Mhm.
in that period of, do I want to go to college? What do I want to study in college? Or I picked a degree and now I regret the degree. So I'm very grateful that the field chose me, and I
Yes.
have been faithful to the field since I was young.
Totally, I agree. Like for example, I studied fashion design, which is something that I always was interested in, but I wasn't too sure. I ended up doing it, but I wasn't too sure because it's a little bit hard to find a job around that area. And right now I don't do fashion design, I do digital marketing. So
Mm.
it's funny that sometimes you really don't know what you're going to end up doing, but you follow the path and you end up doing that. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think in your case, you ended up in something creative
Yes,
anyway.
true.
Maybe that was like your real passion.
Uh-huh, true, absolutely. Because I do enjoy marketing a lot. It's not that I
Mhm.
just ended up here because there was a job. I found it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Ada, so how was your journey? Did you start first working at a different practice and then you decided to start your own practice? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so I graduated from my master's degree. This is years after the high school class. And basically, you become a registered intern. And so you have the opportunity to decide if you want to work at a hospital, at a community health center, or at a private practice. And I knew I wanted, like I said at the beginning, to work with children. And I also wanted to do private practice. That has always been the goal once I started my master's. So upon graduation, I was hired to be part of a group practice, which I'm very grateful to because it gave me an opportunity to learn from them as an intern. And they provided me clients, and I started learning about the business of creating your own business, which, by the way, they do not teach you in therapy school.
No.
So it was interesting, but I had really good mentors and supervisors that led the way for me to build this business woman identity. And then after a couple years of being with them, I mustered the courage to say, hey, I think I can do this myself. And that's when I completely, separated from that group practice and just devoted my time to building my own company and my own business. And that's kind of how it's been ever since.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For how long have you been doing just your own business?
I feel like actually in October, so this month, it's going to be 1 year of me just being an independent clinician. It was interesting because in the group practice, I was an independent contractor.
Okay.
So I still had my own business and I did my own, finances and everything. But I was under this support team, which was wonderful. So I was used to having to run my own finances and organizing my clients and all of that I was already used to doing. But a year ago was when I really just left that company and just pursued my own companies, grew my own company name and built my own independent caseload without that mentorship or support.
Correct. Very good. And the name of the company is a very beautiful name, Rising Stronger Counseling. I read it and I loved it right away.
Thank you. I really do love, I don't know. It was fun to come up with the name, and I wanted something that was impactful and powerful, but also we fall and we fail and life gets hard.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it to be something like overly positive, without validating the hardship that people go through. So rising stronger.
Yes, agreed, 100%. Okay, and I've from my research around you, you mentioned that you are Latin, right? So where are you? Were you born in the U.S. or it's your family is Latin, or were you born outside of the U.S.?
So I was born in the US, and then I was 3 months old and I moved to Mexico.
Okay.
So I have no recollection of being born in the United States. And my family is all Mexican. So my parents are Mexican, my grandchildren. I am not a grandmother. My grandparents are Mexican. So I was lucky again enough where I do have the experience of living in the United States and being American. But I think at my roots, I love Mexico. I love Hispanic and Latino culture. I don't think I could ever not be that.
Mm-hmm. I love Mexico too, and I think Mexican food is my favorite. Yes,
good.
It's my favorite for sure.
It is definitely my favorite.
Yes. Good. Okay, and how has your background as a Latin from your Latin roots have influence your approach to mental health?
Well, I actually love that question because it's at the very root of what I do.
Hmm.
Like I said, even though, I live in the United States, I was born in the United States, my whole upbringing has been Hispanic and Latin. So it's something that I I can't ignore,
Hmm.
and I don't. So I provide therapy in Spanish. The majority of my caseload is with people that are of that background.
Hmm.
I work a lot with parents that have a very unique story similar to mine, where they were born in a country and then they moved their family, and so now their children are American. And there's that very interesting discrepancy between the parent and the child.
Totally.
Um, so I focus on that a lot. I advocate a lot for mental health care, period.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of, those countries, my country included, Mexico, has a lot of stigma and stereotype around mental health, about
Hmm.
men's mental health, about asking for help, about my profession in general.
Yeah.
So I think it's at the forefront of what I do. And that is actually why I decided to pursue my doctorate degree. And that's what I'm studying, that effect of immigrant Latino families and how it affects their parenting and their family system. Because like I said, I think it's at the root of mental health for that population.
100%. See, yeah, especially for men. Um, and I think also here, but also of course more in Latin American countries, or who knows if other countries as well. Um, they they think it's a waste of time, which I hate to see because I do therapy and even though sometimes it's hard and uncomfortable, I do definitely see the benefits of it. And right when I'm done with it, I feel much better. Kind of like the gym, right? Sometimes you're like, I don't want to go, I'm lazy. But then once you finish, you feel pretty good. Like there's something that changes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, men in general in mental health generally get the short end of the stick, I think,
Yes.
because the way that men are socialized is like strong
Mhm.
and don't be vulnerable and, be the primary caretaker of the family. And so there's very little room for emotion and vulnerability and quote unquote weakness.
Mhm.
What's particularly interesting about the Latino culture is that element of machismo,
Yeah.
that we see in those countries and cultures as well, which again, like almost leaves them even more vulnerable. And the stigma in general. It's not uncommon for me to hear people say that therapy is for crazy people, or I get that all the time, like, oh, but I'm not crazy. So it's like that stigma of you have to have something severely wrong with you
Right.
to need help. So it's unfortunate, and it's also a reality in which we live in, and that's where I care, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to
Mhm.
talk to people, even in my own family system.
Awesome.
Some people have family members. My grandpa, who's like 91 years old, he's like, "Oh, just tell them it'll be okay." To my client, I'm like, oh, sure. Let me tell like a depressed client that it'll be okay. So it just kind of points to like the lack of knowledge there is, um, in the field, and the silent suffering that a lot of people go through. Um, but I'm hopeful that, with more exposure and more
Mhm.
platforms like this one, and just conversations in general, we can break the stigma a little bit. And if one person asks for help, that's already a huge win.
100%. And hopefully, as well, with all of this exposure, the insurance companies as well start opening up more to taking, um, like to using the insurance with mental health, because that's one of the issues I've had, that either my insurance doesn't cover it at all, or it covers like two sessions a year, which is nothing. So a lot of the times people are like, like you this is more important, like for example an accident, of course, is very like you have to go to the doctor, but you're not gonna have an accident all the time, right? But people have issues with their lives all the time, so I think they should be more open to that. But yes, I think it's just like a knowledge thing, and that just we're getting slowly more open to it and understanding we need it, and with that change hopefully they'll also start opening themselves to that.
Yeah, I think the more awareness, the more people
Hmm.
acknowledge that there is a problem, the more solutions we can come up with.
Hmm. Correct. Okay, and so you talking with a lot of children and teenagers. What are some of the most common challenges that you see right now for this generation?
That's a good question. I'm thinking, what do I see? I think also unique, I'll say like self esteem
Mm.
is a big one. Um, I think in general, it's children and teens because of where they are developmentally. It's a very unique spot where that identity exploration is at its very core of your teenage years. So to some degree, it's common to struggle with that. And I'm sure, if any of us were to look back to high school or middle school, we're like, yeah, we probably struggled.
Yeah.
Um, but I've seen it just a little bit more recently. I see a lot of concerns with body image, which gets tied into self esteem. That's something that almost every one of my clients has expressed some sort of discomfort or, pressure or this general feeling of not good enoughness. I think has been something that I've seen consistently. The second thing would probably be like I mentioned, those transition periods between high school, college. I graduated college. Now what?
Hmm.
Um, those cause a lot of anguish. I have a lot of young adults, kind of, I can't buy a house. I don't know what to study. I don't know what to do with my life. I have debt. So just a general pressure, I think, to exist in modern society has increased a tad, I would say.
Yeah.
And then from the parents' part, I hear a lot of how can I connect to my child? Social media has been a big shift in that. Everybody has access to phones, and you can see how it starts kind of like they feed into each other. If I can compare myself or my body and somebody on social media, and I am 12 years old, that's going to impact my self esteem and I'm not going to feel good enough. Or if I see all my friends getting married or getting promotions and I am still living with my parents and I don't know what to do, then I'm going to feel worse about myself. So all of these things kind of feed into each other. But I feel like in general, people want to connect and they want to form these deep, meaningful friendships and relationships. And I just don't know if we're providing maybe enough opportunity for that to happen in a healthy, good way. I don't know if we're taking away important tools
Mhm.
for children and teens and young adults to learn how to properly navigate these situations. Like, are we not having enough conversations with this population about the current struggle? I don't think I've figured it out quite yet, what is exactly at the root, but I can see the tree, right? Like I can see the issues of the self esteem and the struggle with transition and that general yearning for belonging. I just don't know exactly, I don't think I could pinpoint exactly what is causing that.
Yeah, 100%. I can see what. So, in regards to like the self esteem and body image, I think there's two things that happen. One has always happened, that is your body's changing a lot in your teenage years, is normal. So, you feel weird, you feel I don't know, too skinny or too or a little bit chubby, or like your face has acne, you have braces. So you, I don't know, like it's because I remember I used to be like, for me, like my issue, I was way too skinny and I looked like a little kid. And I would compare myself to my friends who were looking already more like women. And I would be like, oh, so I think like that happens in a different way for everybody. Each person has like their own issues. Some might have more acne than others. So it's a really like tricky stage. And second, with what you mentioned about the social media, of course, like it's even hard for us adults, like we're comparing ourselves to all these perfect influencer model lives, or whoever you admire, right? So if it's hard for us adult, I can see how it's of course way harder for them. And what at least we went through is that you would just compare yourself with the people you knew in your school, right, or in the complex that you live. Now you can compare yourself with anybody in the world. So anybody that you can follow, you see, you follow all of the most beautiful girls, all of the richest girls, whatever. And so the pool just got like way bigger. And you're always thinking that that's just like the normal, and you're not like that. And so I think that's definitely what can be affecting them so much in regards to self-esteem. um I would say what the algorithm um promotes as well, of course, these people who are very beautiful or have a lot of success at an early age, of course they get a lot of followers, a lot of attention, so the system shows them more and more and more. um Go ahead.
Yeah, and I will also say, like, it's really hard to escape as a child or an
Yes.
adult, like you're saying.
Yes.
Any message about your body
Mhm.
not being good enough. I mean, I can sit and watch Sunday night football, for example, and I see at least 5 commercials about changing my body. And this is a
Mhm.
Sunday relaxing day, right? I'm already getting bombarded.
Mhm.
Women and men, but mainly women, have that space where they talk about their bodies and their bodies not looking a certain way. And it's a problem because you can't escape it. I don't think I can go one day without hearing somebody or something comment on bodies. And so, and that's a fully developed brain. If I am 13, that's just not the case.
Mhm.
And like you were saying, in that time period of middle school and high school, like research does show that is when we start to form our identity. So we will all struggle. I think teenagers will forever struggle with
Yeah.
that because of that developmental marker in their lives. But it doesn't have to be such a deep wounded struggle. And I think that's where we are now,
Mhm.
where it's just the constant message is not good enough, whether that be not pretty enough, not muscular enough. The academic pressures that kids have
Yeah.
these days is insane to me. I hear like sixth graders with the same amount of responsibilities that I have in a doctorate degree. Like, it is just crazy, the expectation that we put on children and the pressure. I have so many clients that work their butt off to go to college, and they study and they go above and beyond, and maybe they get accepted to two. And these are good humans, good students.
Mhm.
We're really, people always say, like, what's happening to the teens of today, and especially adults that talk to me there, they're like, kids are not how they used to be. And for me, it's like, well, the adults are failing them. It's really not the child, it's society, and it's the adults in their lives that are they're taking the kid out of the kid and expecting them to act like adults, and they're kids. Even my 17-year-old said, they're like, I'm almost an adult. I'm like, no, sir, you're a child, and your brain will remain a child until it's like 25 to 30, which is like when research shows that your brain is fully developed, right? So it's just hard. It's hard being a teenager. It's hard being a teenager in today's society with media and the messages and the academic pressure.
100%. And what you were also mentioning about like it's hard to have a home, it's also a very different economy to what the parents had, right? Where they could maintain a household with just one job. It's now it's two jobs, and sometimes even with two jobs, people are struggling. And even and for young adults, it's being very hard because a lot of them are not even being able to rent on them like by themselves. They have to get roommates, right? So it's very different.
Well, and yeah, it's very difficult and different. And I would say, like, even think about the developmental expectation for like when you're 30, right? You want to create a family of your own, whatever that looks like, by the way, it doesn't matter. But you want to start separating yourself from your family system and start creating your own in whatever shape, way, or form. Now you can't do that, right? And so now you're stuck somewhere, or maybe not stuck, but and you feel stuck in that experience
and the expectation.
And then exactly, and the expectation and the comparison that humans do regardless. I mean, it's tough out there. And I think to your point of working, right, if you can't sustain a home from working one or two jobs, you're going to have parents working longer hours, which means kids are by themselves longer, which means now I'm on my phone more, and now I'm on social media more, or I'm by myself, and that's not necessarily developmentally what is recommended. So I don't really blame the child or even the parent, that family system. I think in general, the system as a society is failing its people.
Agree. 100%. We have to find the way to be able to get it back to, yes, I guess less work hours. Find a way to be as productive in less hours so families can be with their children. And also another point that they're more on their phones, but they don't have parents around, so they're also eating very bad, just chips and whatever, which is not helpful as well to their development.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very tough situation.
Yeah. Okay. And Ara, can you tell us maybe like a good story that you had with a client? That you don't have to mention the name of the client, of course, but that like something that you can remember that you did a very like a good change with them or a good contribution.
Yeah. I'm thinking, I'm trying to be careful also with confidentiality. I think one of the things that, and it's happened with a couple of clients where we do some work, I work a lot with trauma, and trauma is a big taker, and it takes. And I've had a couple of clients who have had very painful and hard experiences with traumatic undertones, right? Traumatic experiencings happen to them, them being exposed to things, and just really the root of the trauma they have experienced. And I think one of the best things that I think about is, how can I be that one secure person? How can I be that one secure adult? Maybe they've never had a safe adult in their lives. Or with young adults, right? How can I be a positive role model and encourage them that, there's hope and there's possibility? And my favorite are clients that, years later, they send me a text message or they email me and they say, I'm doing this, I'm succeeding. I think that is what really warms my heart. I don't take any credit for that, by the way. I think it's the people that show up to therapy and do the work that deserve all the credit. And And I just find it wonderful that they were able to overcome, whatever life threw at them, and they're succeeding and thriving. It's just, I find it an honor to be part of
Mhm.
their journey and into healing. So those are probably my favorite moments as a therapist, where I can see the click of like, oh, and there changes a pattern, or I see the growth, oh, they overcame something really hard, or
Mhm.
and change can be small too.
Yeah.
Like today, you know, I was nice to myself. I thought nice things
Mhm.
for most of the day. Hey, I'll take it,
Yeah.
or a parent saying, I'm okay not being the perfect parent. I'll take it.
Mhm.
Um, or kids a lot, in school feeling more confident, or teachers telling them like, hey, you really were able to overcome this difficult thing. Those are just, though they warm my heart, and like I said, that credit doesn't really belong to me. It belongs to the people that are doing the hard work and putting in the hours to really heal.
100%, because it is hard work.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that's part of like therapy. I think sometimes people come with the expectation of, oh, therapy is so wonderful and fun and I'm gonna feel great. I'm like, oh, I don't know where you were
Yeah.
going to therapy, but therapy's hard. And it requires, I think, facing a lot of uncomfortable things.
Mhm.
And that takes tremendous bravery and courage. So anytime I'm a witness to that, I feel honored, and I'm grateful that people allow me into their lives and into the hardest, sometimes more distressing events in their lives.
Totally agreed. It is an honor. It is an honor because it's hard to tell that stuff. That's why you almost never tell it to anybody sometimes, but your therapist. So
Exactly.
I can see how that's an honor.
Yeah.
Okay, and Era, when you started your practice over a year ago, how was that process for you to start getting your clients or growing your clients? Was this by referrals? Was this with help of the other company? Was this through marketing? How did you start growing your business to be able to just do it on yourself?
Whoa. I think it was a little bit of everything.
Okay, awesome.
Um, I I will say, I am not a business minded individual,
Okay.
which is hilarious because I ended up having my own company, which was like, oh, okay, what a little twist of fate.
All right.
But I did. I was involved in the field. I've always been involved. I think that's something, I talked about at the beginning. I love what I do. So I was back then, I was the president of the Mental Health Counselors Association, in Palm Beach. So what that means is that I had a large network and exposure of myself, my brand, and I was involved in the community. So I was able to make a lot of connections that way. I think people often miss the opportunity to connect one on one with others. That's something that I did very seriously. I call them like one on ones, where I just met with somebody. I don't know if that's a real term or whatever, but I would meet one on one with somebody. And that I admired, that I wanted to have a conversation with. It was never, let me just meet with this random person. It was like, wow, I look up to them, or their research interest is very fascinating to me, or they work with a really interesting population that I know nothing about. And so I started investing time into making these connections, individual connections with clinicians around me. I attended a lot of networking events, to really help with the marketing side and getting my name out there. So a lot of like old school things that people don't. I feel like young people now, they're like, oh, you don't go door to door to sell your business. I'm like, well, I did. And it really actually helped. It looked different, right? I wasn't going to like apartment buildings, but
Right.
selling a machine.
Right.
But I was definitely, attending these events and making these connections, which was really helpful. And then I also really spent time recreating my brand. I redid my website. I started doing like social media presence stuff. I ended up having, with time, hiring a virtual assistant to help me with social media management. I did like a route of pediatricians that were close to my office. And I went to those offices, delivered like my favorite pastries, which are cinnamon rolls, and like deliver like cinnamon rolls with like pamphlets. I spent a lot of time doing free things, like doing groups in schools, presentations in schools, chats to parents, and any like in schools, but also for like national organizations. So that really helped build my brand a lot. So, and people ask me all the time, how did you do it? And I was like, well, I was meeting with 5 to 6 people a week, plus keeping a full caseload, plus, filming content for my social media page, which is like horrible. I am not an influencer. Like, it is the most cringiest thing I do. But here I am showing up, filming videos in my living room.
Good.
So that's part of it too, right? Like making yourself uncomfortable, I think is part of it. And having the discipline to say, nobody's going to tell you to do it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're by yourself. And it's your own business. Nobody's telling me to show up to pediatrician offices. How many should I show up for? No one is forcing you to do it. So it's a lot of internal self-discipline. But it's been good. And I think my brother always tells this to me. He was like, your passion is very palpable and that will always land with people. And I think that has really resonated with me because I am doing these things not because I have to, not because I need to, but because I want to. And I have a really, really big why behind what my actions. And I think people resonate with that. And that's been really helpful as well.
I agree. That's super interesting. You did touch like a lot of different doors. And yes, it's hard. Like that door to door marketing is a hard thing to do. So I congratulate for you for doing that. And but also trying so many different like strategies, right? Like not just go in and touch, but like touch the door, but like bring a little gift or just do a free talk, right? Hoping that some like giving some value, hoping it will come back at some point. And then the social media thing is of course the digital part is a big part in our world right now. And even though it's probably easier for you to talk to people personally, doing a video is harder, but you went ahead and did it. So very awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
And so you did, like when talking about that social media, you did those videos. You keep doing them or you stop doing them? Or from time
Nope,
to time?
I keep
You
doing
keep
them.
doing them. Okay, good.
That was like the promise I made to myself. So when I started studying my PhD, I debated like this is a great opportunity to not do videos anymore. But I care about my business, I think, at the end of the day. And I worked so hard to get it where it is now that it would feel like a disservice of past versions of Ara to just not keep watering that plant. So I still water it. And I honestly think my virtual assistant who was like, hey, like, we need more videos again. I'm like,
no,
fine. But I care about the topic, so that also makes it a little bit easier.
Beautiful, beautiful. And is there any type of so that's what we call organic content, right? Is there any type of, do you do any like paid advertising around that, or is just that organic part and you've been able to grow organically?
Yeah, I debated paying for ads, especially when I was just starting. I think I did end up doing that because I was running a teen girls group and I did run ads for that group. I think now I'm just in a different stage in my life, to be honest, where school is taking a big chunk of my time. So it's not a priority for me right now
Mm-hmm.
to, build a full caseload and constantly market. I think right now the business is important and it's my baby. I built it from scratch. So I'm not going to throw it away, but I also sense my priorities have shifted. And right now I think school is is more important in
Mm-hmm.
the sense of like where I devote my time to.
Right.
So my clients always get all of my time and attention, but social media, going to pediatrician offices, those types of things, they're a little bit in the back burner for now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to prioritize and then maybe when you have a little bit more time again, see if you do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Ara, where can people find more about you or about the practice?
good question. Well, you guys can find my super cringy videos on Instagram at Rising Stronger Counseling.
I'll follow you.
And my website is the same, risingstrongercounseling.com.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ara, for the awesome conversation. I learned a lot. And as you said, as your brother says, you are very passionate about this. So you can
Thank
tell
you.
and very knowledgeable. So, and inspiring because, for example, I struggle with like doing door to door stuff. And of course I do marketing, so I know like, oh, I know how to do it with marketing. I don't have to step out my house ever. But that's not true, that's not true. I know that there's a very different, I don't know, like it's easier to do things in person. Like we, even though we love digital stuff, we still value a lot of meeting a person, talking to a person, and that's a little bit hard for me. But so it's very inspiring that you did this and you told me this, so that helps out a lot.
My pleasure. And I
Yeah.
will tell you, it was hard. I like every time I would get out of my car with cinnamon rolls, I'm like, gosh,
Yeah.
I got this. Like giving myself a little pep talk. But I think, in conclusion, we need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's where growth really happens.
Sure. 100%. Okay, thank you so much, Ara.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.